Okay, gang, I'm going to pick up where we left off, and we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about managing your website. So we talked about the basics last time, where we covered just the dashboard. We talked a little bit about editing the site from a high level in terms of the pages, briefly how to add a widget to the page. We talked a little bit about the content manager, just barely talked about the personalization pop-up stuff that we can do. We mentioned the store that we can add to your site, and as well as the blogs, and then we made it through all of the different settings. So now we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the actual content on the site, assuming that you know where all the buttons are and where all the stuff is at this point. Now we want to jump in and really add some things to it. So first thing I want to talk about is design versus content. And design, and I've got a little example of it over here for when I can type. Really, I outlined some things that are design versus some things that are content. And your primary focus when you're adding content to your site really is the content. That's the news and announcements and stories and photos and videos and links and all that kind of stuff. It's not the pretty stuff in terms of the color and the fonts and the sizes and shadows and mouse over effects and that kind of stuff. So you really need to focus on the content while we work on the design aspect of it. I'm going to show you some things about design, how you can tweak the style of just about everything. But again, the priority is that of content, making sure that you update your site with good, new, relevant information, and that you keep it updated with information so that your users keep coming back. So I'm going to start a whole new page here. We're just going to add all kinds of stuff to it. I'm going to use the blank page. And here's our new blank page. Now, when you first add a page to your website and it's totally blank, it's going to be just blank, just like that. However, if you mouse over your page, at some point you'll find that there is a row that pops up. And that row is where we're going to add some stuff. And we're going to talk about columns and rows. So your whole site is kind of like a table. You're going to have 4 vertical columns. You don't have to use all 4 of them, but you can have up to 4 vertical columns. And you can have as many horizontal rows as you want. By default, 1 empty row is created for you on each page as you add new pages, but we can add as many rows to it as we want. We can add rows by putting our mouse over an existing row and right-click on it, and we go to Add. From there, we can add a row above it, and we can add sections and columns, and we're going to add even inner rows. Right now, we want to just talk about rows. So we're going to add another row. And now you can see once I've done that, I've got 2 rows. I want to add another. Again, go back, add another row. And now I've got 3 rows. And you can add as many rows as you want. And you may not even know how many rows of content you're going to have yet. That's just one of those things that's going to grow as you add stuff to your site. You might have 10 rows, you might have 1 row, you might have 50. It really depends on how much content you're going to have on any given page. So you can add as much stuff to it, as many rows to it as you want. In each row, we have 1 single column by default. And the column is the gray area. Your column, again, is your vertical area versus the row that is your horizontal. And we can add lots of different columns. In our old system, we called them panes. Now they're columns because they're not really just any fixed pane size anymore. They're completely adjustable columns. And you can add as many columns as you want, actually up to 4, by putting your mouse on a blank area of the row. See, I'll put my mouse over here, and again, we're going to right-click. And instead of adding a row this time, we're going to go add a column. And you'll see now it added 2 columns there, 2 empty columns. We right-click again and say Add Column. Now we have 3 columns. We can add again. We can add our 4th column. And that's as many columns as we can have. And you'll see that if you try to add it again, it's grayed out. So you can't add any more than 4 columns there. That's okay. It is more than enough or 99% of the sites, and really it should be for everybody. Just because if you have too much stuff width-wise across your page, it's going to just really clutter the page up. But I'm going to show you that we can adjust the width of each of these as well. So when you add them, when you add a column to a page, they're all going to be kind of equally sized. So it was half, then it was thirds, now it's quarters, and it cut them all by equal size. But we can make them as wide as we want by putting our mouse between them, and you'll see a little blue line shows up. That blue line lets you drag it to the left or to the right. And so we can make any column wider, any column narrower, or we can even get rid of columns by clicking the little red X. And you'll see everything expanded again. So maybe I want that one little, and this one little, and a wide middle. Or maybe I want the left one wide, and the right two narrow. There's no limit to how you can adjust these. You can make them as narrow or long or wide as your content requires. And of course, you can do this after we can add content too. So we're going to add some modules to it in a minute as well. So we can do that resizing with the rows as well. You see, when I'm in a row, I have that little blue line around it. I put my mouse over that blue line, it expands a little bit. And you'll see I get these little, what they call anchors, these three little dots. Well, now I can drag the row any size I want as well. So you may want a lot of space for your content vertically as well as horizontally. Totally up to you. So we've got a lot of options into how we can manage the rows and the columns of our website. I'm just going to put it back there so we can see. So below that is a default row with one empty column and another default empty row and column and another empty row and column. And then at the top I've got 3 columns that I've added. Again, I can add another one by right-clicking in a blank area and click Add Column, and now you see I've got 4. Or you can delete 1 or 2 or however many you want, and we can add stuff to them. So let's go back to a blank row, and we're going to add some stuff to it. Then we're going to add more columns and lots of different stuff to it and show you what we can do with all of this. So let's go add some widgets. So remember, there are 2 ways to add widgets, or what you know as modules, to our page. We can click on widgets on the left and expand it, and we'll see all of the different widgets that we can add. And the other option is on our blank page, right-click in a column and go back to add, just like we were going to add a column. But in this time, in this case, we're going to go to widget below. So now we want to add a widget. And we can add whatever kind of widgets we want. Give me 1 second. Okay. So we're going to add a widget below. And there's a shortcut to add text, images, buttons, or icons. But if you want to add something different, click on More Widgets, and you'll see the pop-up will come up, and you can add all kinds of stuff that's not in the shortcuts. So it's literally the entire list of widgets that you can add from the page. So again, there's just 2 ways of doing it. Drag it from the right, drag it from the left, and the other is right-click on a column and add the widget below. So I'm going to add some widgets here. I'm going to add a text widget, just because that's the most common one. And I want to drag it down to a place on the page to where it turns blue. Just going to put it there. And as soon as I add that text widget, here comes my text editor, and I can add whatever you want here in terms of text. So this is a standard text editor, the WYSIWYG. Truly is what you see, what you get. On our old system, it really wasn't very accurate. You could add some content or some text to the site, and when you got out of the site, it would change formats or change styles, and it looked totally different sometimes than when you're editing. That is no longer the case. Truly what you see is what you get in terms of how your text is going to look. That's the font. We dictate that from the design. However, you can also change it here in this text editor. Just click on it. You can make it bold, you can make it underlined or italics or different colors, whatever you want with it. We listened to you. A lot of people wanted some different fonts. So there's about 100 different fonts now. Click on the fonts, and you'll see there's a ton of them in there. And these are all Google fonts, so they're completely compatible with all websites. So they'll work just fine no matter where you go. Or you can make your site or your font as big as you want. You also have the option of changing the font weight. So maybe you want it normal or bold, In a lot of our designs, you'll have normal, light, bold, semi-light, semi-bold. So you can really have a variety of boldness or weight to your different fonts. Next to that, we have the alignment. If I want to change it to the right side, click on that. If I want it centered, click on that. If I want it full justified, I can click on that as well. So you've got that option. Maybe you're going to have multiple things in your text box, like pizza, cake, and ice cream. I don't know. And maybe we don't want all that underlined and bolded. Oops, underline and bold. But maybe we want to do a list. So we can highlight that and we can hit the bullets list that will add bullets. This is looking kind of wonky just because I've got everything centered. Let's make it all left again. And now you'll see that it looks normal. So we have bullets. Oops. Boy. We can do, oh, numbers. There it is. That's what I was looking for. It was numbers. And again, I've made it all kind of wonky. So let me just highlight it all and make it all left again. Oop, ah, there it is, left. I've totally messed this thing up. So the beautiful thing about this, because it's just text, is we can just hit delete and start over. But this is a true text editor where you can copy and paste content from anywhere. I'm gonna come over here and copy stuff and just click in that text editor and paste it. Now, of course, it carried over the last styling that was in the row, so maybe that's not what we want. So instead, let's hit our undo button and go add another text widget there. Let's get rid of this one. We'll right click on my empty row. We'll say add a widget of text. And from here, I can paste my content. There's what was on the other page. Looks a little neater. So that's the stuff I just copied over from this page. So we can copy and paste text from anywhere. And it's really easy to do. We can add as many text widgets as we want on a row. So if I, again, put my cursor here on this blank spot, I go to add. Oh, I want to put it on this widget and add it below. Add another text widget below there. Here is another text widget. Add another widget below the widget you're working on, but still within the same row. Just put your mouse over whichever one you want it below and click add text or image. Let's add an image this time. So let's go just click it, add an image, and you'll see the image content pops up. And this is where we can select images. And we'll show you lots of things about images. I'm going to add an image. Anytime you add a photo, image, logo, whatever it may be to your website, make sure that you take a second to change or give it some alt text. That's how you're going to maintain ADA compliance. So this is a photo of some kids. Whatever it may be, give it an alt text and you'll keep everybody happy. Now, maybe this photo is too large for our space and we don't want it that big. Well, just like you would in PowerPoint, we can resize anything on the page. Just grab it in the corner, what they call the anchors, and drag it however big you want it. You can make it as big or small as you want. You can drag it to the left. You can drag it up or down. You can put it above our text. Again, we can just do whatever we want in terms of the size by just putting your mouse over it, grabbing those little white anchors or the corner anchor, and making it as big as you want it, or move it around anywhere you want. So that's pretty easy. So now we've got three things on this page. We've got one that's at the bottom, we've got a text widget. Above that, we've got a text widget. And above that, we've got a photo. Let's add some more stuff below this widget. And I'll show you why we're going to add everything in just one column and one row, because then we're going to drag it all around and show you how we can format stuff all over the place. So let's right click. Going to add another widget below. This time, let's add a button. So it used to be that adding a button was kind of a chore. It was a bit of a project. Now you can just simply add a button and say this links to PowerSchool or whatever you want. Ideally, you want to type better than I do. There you go. How about that? All right, that link's there. And when we're creating a button, we can link them to any existing page in our website, or we can link it to any website URL, which is what I'm going to do, www.powerschool.com. Or we can even create pop-ups. We can do anchor links, which means you can link it anywhere specifically on a page. We can link it to email addresses just by adding an email address here. We can even link to click to call. So you can put in your phone number and they can even call you directly just by clicking on a button. Or you can link it to a document, which we're going to do all these kinds of links here in just a few minutes. But for now, I'm just going to link it to my website URL, because I created that, and close that. And now there's my little button. I've got some text and some photos. Let's see if it all works. So to do that, if I stay here in edit mode and I try to click on my button, it thinks I want to edit the button. So here's a good example of when I need to go into preview mode. I do that at the top right of the site. And the reason is that while I'm in preview mode, it doesn't think I want to edit the button. It thinks I want to use the button. And so now if I click it, it says, oh, this goes to an external link. Again, we're only going to see that because we're logged in and editing the website. But if I click it, you'll see it now opens the PowerSchool website. And there you go. So that button does indeed work. And we can see everything else is here as well. So let's go back into edit mode by clicking back to editor. And we can add all kinds of stuff. Well, we're going to add a few more things. So I'm going to put it below my link here just by right-clicking, add the widget below, and let's go add an icon. So we can add icons to our site as well. There are thousands of icons. You can scroll through them all in here, and we're going to talk a little bit about styling shortly as well. Let's add a bus. Type in bus. There we go. There's a bus, and there's our school bus. Now we have some really cool things with this icon, but first we're going to link it. Again, we have all the same link icons. We can link it to a page in our website. We can link it to a website URL, or pop-up, anchor, email, call, or even a file. So maybe we're going to link this to a file. To do that, I click on link it to a file, and I have to search for my file. So it's going to be something.pdf. I know that. There we go. There's lots of PDFs in there. So we'll select that one. So now I've linked my school bus logo, or icon, excuse me, to a file. Now maybe I want, because it's a school bus, we want it to look like an actual school bus. First, we need to give it an alt text. Is a school bus icon. We need to make sure we always add alt text to be in compliance. And then I'm going to click on the design button. And we're going to talk a lot about design in a couple of minutes. I'm going to add all kinds of stuff first. We're going to talk about design. And in design, we're going to be able to change the colors. Maybe we want it yellow. But we're going to talk a little bit about design in just a few minutes. But so we can change the design and colors of it. So now this one, if I go back into preview mode and I click it, this one is going to open a document, just as we want it to. The other one links still to PowerSchool. And of course, now we've got some photos as well. Let's go back and add a couple more things to our page. And then we're going to start shuffling stuff around within the columns that we know we can make. So I'm going to add one more thing. And let's go add widget below. Let's go to more widgets this time. And one that everybody likes, of course, is the links widget. So we'll add that in here. And building links is just like it always is. We're going to just add some links. So we can give it a title first. This is my list of links. And you'll see as you type it, it's going to show up down below. Now we can add our links. Let's click our first one. This will be to link to Campus Contact. That, of course, is a website URL. And we're done. And you see everything's automatically saved instantly. I have a little green check here. I have my little check box at the top. Everything's saved. So now I can go add a new link. Let's link to an email address. Click here to email me. I can click the email address and say rob@campuscontact.com. And there, looked away. There's my email address. And you see we've got a little green check mark. And let's do one of each kind of links. So let's link to a page. I'm going to add new link, click on that link. This links to a page. Click on existing page, and we'll find that we'll link this to the About Us page. How about that? Let's go back and add another one. And you can see we can add links pretty quickly, and they're just adding up as we go along. Let's do another one of website. Let's do a click to call. So this will be click to call. And now I want your phone number. You guys all know that number, 867-5309. If you don't, you live in the dark. Click here to call us. So now we've got 4 different links. Of course, there are some other types of links. Link to a file. Oh, let's go ahead and do that too, just so we know we've covered them all. Link to a file, just like our bus was earlier. We'll click File, Download. Click on the file, and no, it's something.pdf. How about that one? That's perfect. And now we're linked to that file. All right, I think we're good. We've created a whole bunch of links there. Now, because it's kind of PowerPoint-ish in that we can put our mouse over things and change the size of everything, photos, text, icons, you name it, we can resize things. We're going to now move things to different columns and make it all look a whole lot better. So we're in a row. Let's go add a new row above this. Add in the blank area. Add row above. And we know we can add columns there. Well, I showed you how to add columns by right-clicking on a blank area and add a column. But we've actually also done that with a widget. We actually have a widget column, or column widget. We have a widget that'll add 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, or just 1 column. So let's go add 3 columns. It does the exact same thing as you right-clicking up here, but it's just kind of a shortcut. We've got columns added. So I could have just right-clicked and said, add a column, but it's a little shorter sometimes to just grab the widget, the column widget, and add it. So now that I've added it, I can move stuff into those different columns. I can just drag my photo over there. I'll take this text and put it there. I'll put my button on the right side, and I'll put my bus under that. And then I'll add my list of links under the photos. You see all I'm doing is dragging stuff around and add my last widget there. So we've got all of our stuff there, and our page is starting to look a little better now because now it's all kind of neatly organized in columns, and it just looks a lot better. Remember that we can drag these column sizes so we can make some things wider or narrower than other sides, other columns. Maybe our little button column doesn't need to be so wide, but we want our text to be wider. So when I change these column sizes, it doesn't automatically change the size of the content in it. You have to do that manually, again, by putting your mouse in there and dragging it as wide as you want. We just size mouse over it. So let's say I want that photo in the middle now. I put it there, but I really want it wider, or as wide as the whole area. Just drag it as wide as you want. Oh, there you go. And now it fits. So now I've got a little bit better looking page. Now we can also drag stuff, not only just left and right and through columns, but we can drag things around within a same column. So maybe my school bus icon is too close to my button over here. I can drag it down and add space between things as well. So we've got a lot of functionality in terms of just being able to move stuff around. Pretty cool. I drag it over here to the left, and I say, oh, I don't want it right on top of my links. I need a little space there. Drag my links down, and now I've added a little bit of space. Maybe over on the right, I want to drag my other widget up. Well, I can do that. So now we've kind of reorganized our content, and it's not looking so terrible. It was kind of funky in one big long column or one big row with just one column. But now you can see that we can break it all up and make it look better. Again, if you only want to use 2 columns, get everything out of one of them. And let's get rid of that column. Just click the X, and now everything's moved around. So now we can shuffle things around again, make things look a little better. Maybe I want that left column a little smaller. That's fine. So you see we can move stuff around real easily, and now everything works really well. So again, you've got total control as to where your content is placed on the page, and it's all done by just drag and drop, very much like you would do in PowerPoint in terms of just moving things around on the page. It's really kind of cool. It's a lot of fun. So now that we know about columns, we know a little bit about rows, let's talk about style. So we've got a lot of styling options, and we can style rows, we can style columns, we can even style every single piece of content that you add to your website. We're going to start with rows, and that's why I left this top row blank. There may be a time that you want a row to have a certain color, maybe so it really stands out. If we click on the row, you'll see a design option, and every single thing in the site has an option for design. So before I make that change, if I click on my button, you'll see the pop-up has a design tab. In this design tab, we have colors and sizes and fonts and all kinds of stuff. Now the design options are slightly different for each widget out there, depending on what that widget can do. But everything in the site has its own design options, so that you can change fonts and colors and shadows and all kinds of cool stuff and really make your site look awesome. It gives you a chance to take your ordinary, plain old content and stylize the heck out of it and make it look beautiful. So we can do that with this photo. We can change some borders there and all kinds of fun stuff. So let's go play around with styles. Let's first do a row. So we're going to change our row to a background color. I have row, edit design, and the first thing you'll see is full bleed row. It's a crazy name, I know, but think of it as full width row. I don't know if that's an English term or what, but full bleed row means a full width row. Makes it full width. So right now, all of the content in these two columns stops at about 1,200 pixels wide. So it doesn't go full width across your page. You can easily do that by going to your row, edit design, and let's see what it does when I click full bleed. You'll see now it pushes everything all the way across the page. Now it's 100% across the area of the page. So in some cases that looks good, in some cases that doesn't look so good. So that's going to be a case-by-case basis whether it needs to be full width or not. For example, if you're going to put a photo slider on a page, you probably want that photo slider to be full width. If you're going to add other content like this with different columns of things, maybe you don't need it full width. Totally up to you. Let's go back to edit design on this row and see what else we can do. We can change the height. Very rarely, if ever, are you going to want full screen height, but there may be a time that if you're going to add a video to a page and you want it just full browser window, you can do that. We're not going to do that because nobody ever does that, but we can change the background color of this row. So the row, the style, design style area is pretty standard that has the background colors and borders and shadows. So we're going to change the row background color, make it maybe pink or gray or yellow, maybe something to really stand out. Let's leave it as yellow so it really stands out. We can add a border around it. So we can just simply change the size of the border by dragging it. You see now we got a big black border around it. Maybe we want that border color different, maybe blue. Let's make it hideous. There we go. Now it's really blue. So again, we can change the size of it. And then we can even add a shadow to it. And what color is the shadow going to be? You've got that option as well. Maybe we'll make a red shadow. So we're just messing this page all up. But now you see we've got a shadow. Oh, we've got a gold colored row with a blue border and a shadow around it. Anytime you get too funky and crazy with it, remember you can use the undo button to undo the last thing that you've done. And you can go as far back, about 100 steps back, so we can undo all kinds of things. Now the last section of all of the design windows that you'll work in, they all have spacing at the very bottom. And we're not going to go into a lot of spacing, but you can see that the spacing for this one is 15 pixels on the top, 15 pixels on the bottom, and 40 pixels left and right. And what that is, that's the spacing between this row and really the edge of your website. So you're not going to want to really change spacing often, but know that every single thing in the site, or we'll go to our button, for example, has spacing option down at the very bottom so that you can move things left, move things right, up or down as you see fit. So you've got that option as well if you want to do it manually. Now you can also just grab things, of course, and move things as you see fit too. So it's totally up to you how you want to do spacing. So we've got an ugly row there. We can also do the same with columns. So if we right click in column, we can edit the design. Again, we've got all those same options. And so I'm going to make this row gray, maybe with a gradient. We'll just do a single color, not get too crazy with it. And we'll right click on the other row, going back to edit design. And let's make this guy, I don't know, pink-ish, salmon maybe, whatever that color is. This is a really good example when there are different colors for you to be able to see that we can change the size real easily. Now, once you've done that, of course, you can always add stuff to it, just like we did a minute ago. You can add columns and widgets and all the stuff in there. Just know that we've got that option to style just about everything in the site. So let's go play with some more styling. Our button. Your buttons are pre-styled when we build out the site for you, but it doesn't mean you can't change it because you may want a button that has different styling. So right now this one is white by default with red text. Mouse over it, it goes red with white text. Maybe we want to just totally change that thing up. Let's go to design for that. And we can change the text, make it something different with some really big fonts. Maybe our font's way too big, that's okay. And we want it bold and italics, why not? We'll even make the font. You can see I'm getting kind of crazy here. We have the option for the hover. What color is it going to be when you hover it? We're going to make it blue now, the font color. We'll leave it at white. That'll look better. We can also, of course, now with buttons, you have this option to revert to the global design, which is what it was before. So if you really mess it up and you make it hideous, click revert and it'll go right back. So again, you've got that option of playing with the design on just about every single thing. The only thing that doesn't have the design option is plain text, and that's because in this text editor, you have all those different design options already. So it's just not a duplicate of it. Let's go to our little icon for our school bus. We created an icon. Again, we can choose an icon by just clicking on it, and there's just all kinds of different icons we can play with. Just go grab one. Maybe we want to change that icon to something else. Click over on our design tab, and we've got lots of different options here. We can change the style of the icon, make it circles, make it standalone, make it square, make it a circle with a line around it. However you want to do it, you've got options. So there's really no limit to what we can do. We can change the height and width. We've got them to keep proportions right now, but maybe we want to stretch it out a little bit, or I don't know. So we can play with lots of different things, different sizes. Of course, we've got the icon color. We've got the background color. We've got borders. You can see how we can get kind of crazy with it here, but again, you've got total control, and it's kind of fun once you start tweaking the different designs and things. We even have an option that lets you decide how it's gonna, or what's gonna happen when you hover over it. Maybe you want it to zoom out. See, it kind of gets a little bigger, or maybe go grayscale, or how about just go transparent, or I don't know, move around when you, I don't know, lots of different options. So you can play with all kinds of stuff. So you've got lots of different options in terms of styling. So we can add all kinds of stuff to the page. We can manage all kinds of styling with it. And some of the things that you'll find even have different options in terms of pre-configured styling. So for example, I'm going to add a photo gallery. I'm going to right click on a blank area. Go to add. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to right click on my column and go to add. A widget. I'm going to add more widgets, and I'm going to select the image slider. And this will show you that we have lots of different templates as well for your designs. So we initially, when you add a photo slider or lots of other things, there's a little bit of default information. So you can delete the default ones. You don't really need those. And then we can go find some new ones. So we've already uploaded all of your photos from your old sites, but you can certainly upload new ones. And so to add new photos, simply click on the image placeholder and select the photo. When you're ready, click done, and you'll see it's there on your page. We can add as many as we want at one time too, so it doesn't take long to build out your photo slider by just grabbing a whole bunch of photos. Say, I want all of those in my photo slider. Okay, there you go. They're all there. Now they're all there. And you can see my photo slider is going to start sliding all kinds of photos that I just uploaded. Now, it's probably not the right width. Maybe I wanted this to go full width across my page. So to do that, this is a great example of where that full bleed row comes in. So if I go to row, I'm going to click on Edit Design for the row and do the full bleed, and you'll see now it's going to go full width across the page, or at least wider than the page. And of course, I can drag it as wide or tall as I want. And what's fun about the photo slider is if I go back into Edit Design, I've got some options for this one. We've got some layout templates. So this one by default has a little caption and a button there. You can manage that if you want. Or maybe you just want it, little caption going across the bottom. Or maybe you don't want any caption at all on it. So select that and the caption is gone. So you can select the different options, and several of the widgets have different options, like the FAQs and announcements and calendars and Google Calendar, and lots of different ones have different layout already pre-designed for you. So you select the layout you want, and then we can select some other design styles with it. So for example, we want to change the font. We can do that. We can change you see it's changing the text down here on the bottom of my photo slider. Maybe I want the font size really big, and I want a different colored font. Maybe you want to change the background color of it. Well, let's turn off the overlay photo. Maybe we want the text overlay, which is that background, to be reddish. There we go. Or we can even change the opacity. And I'm just going to show you a lot of these kind of things because this is really where you get to come in and play. If that looks just terrible and horrible to you, always use the undo button and you can fix whatever you've changed. So it's easy for you to go back and do it. But you can see now I'm changing all kinds of different style things in here. We can add a border around the whole photo slider, make it a little more apparent. And so now we've got a really ugly photo slider. Actually, it doesn't look too terrible with that photo, but you can do lots of fun stuff with it. Now, this slider was supposed to be at the top. I didn't show you how we can move rows, and I actually had that on my list, but I totally skipped it. So let's say this photo slider that we added, we really want that at the top. We don't want it down here at the bottom of our page. We want that as the first thing you see when you get to the page. So we click on row, and we have these little arrows. We can move rows up or we can move rows down. So let's move this row up. Maybe we want to put it at the very top because I have that one really funky row that I made. Go up one more. And so now my photo slider row is at the top, and I've got my weird funky row that I made and my other stuff that I've added and some blank rows as well. So you can see we can grow this site pretty quickly by adding lots of cool stuff to it. I want to add a couple more widgets that I know are important to you guys. One is the calendar, and we're going to add that to the page. So I'm just going to drag it down to the page. And I'm just not going to add any events yet. This is the default, the standard calendar. And so this is how it looks by default. If we click on it, of course, we get our pop-up that lets us manage the content as well as the design. So if we go to the design, you can see we can change all sorts of stuff again and really get crazy with it. But of course, you can stylize it the heck out of it as much as you possibly want. But to add new calendar events, we click on it, and now we can just add a new event. Add item, test item. Maybe it's gonna, when we'll add a photo to it or not. You can add a photo to your item. Let's go add a photo. Let's go add these kids to it again. Or actually, we already used those guys. Let's use the little baby on the phone. Use that one. We can use, this is my test event. You can set the start time, the stop time, the start date, the stop date. You can even add links to your calendar to any event. Like everything else, anytime there's a link, you have all of the same options. Link to a page, a website, a pop-up, an anchor, an email address, a file. Let's just link to a page for the fun of it, just to be short with it. We'll link that to our band page. And there we go. So now we have an event. Oh, did my event load? I'm just gonna hit refresh real quick. Where's my event? I think I added it here. And actually, I'm not sure why it didn't show. Don't you hate when that happens in a demo? Well, I will go back and try to find out why that didn't happen on my page. So I'll go back and look at that. Delete that. Oh, it did show. Okay. Oh, there it is. Maybe it just took a second for it to appear. But there it is. So there's my test item, and if I click it, well, let me go into preview mode and click it. And there's my little pop-up so we can see what happened. So all of this kind of stuff is stylable by you. If you go into the calendar and you click on the Style tab, you can change the background and the font color and the shadow and all of that stuff and really make it look however you want it to look. So that part is totally up to you. Speaking of calendars, some people are really into the Google Calendar. So let's add another widget. I'm not going to add it from the side just to be different. I'm going to add it down here on the page. Add. Widget, more widget. This time I want to search for it just because I want to be difficult. Up here at the top, sometimes you're going to look for a widget and you're going to say, there's so many widgets in here. I can't find the one I'm looking for. So just type it. There you go. And you'll see we have everything under the C, and this is the Google Calendar. So the Google Calendar is very cool. A lot of schools use it, but ours is the only one that's styled. So instead of you adding the old, ugly, funky, wonky looking Google Calendar, we can now style it as well. First, when you add it, you get a pop-up that says sign in with Google and link it. So we'll link my calendar here. Just click the button, and then you'll be able to link it with your Google Calendar. This one may not have a Google Calendar. It doesn't. We'll do the School Desk account. I know that one does. Okay. Well, if you know your calendar, if you know your Google password, you can log in and basically sync it with your Google password. I don't know mine, and this one doesn't. My other one doesn't have a calendar. But anyhow, you would simply click the Google, sign in with your account, and then it will start pulling all of your information. To change the design of it and change the way it looks, we click on the Design tab, and then you can go crazy and start playing with all kinds of different designs. How do things look? Different fonts and colors and hours and headers and months and days and weeks, and how the pop-up is going to look, and maybe the pop-up background color. You can see, again, we can go all day playing on this thing. So we can have a lot of fun. But we don't want to drill down too far and get lost here, because we can spend a lot of time on it. But you can see we can change all kinds of stuff with it. So we're not going to get too crazy with it. But here's a sample. I click on an event. Again, there's the pop-up, and there you go. So we can use our regular calendar that we added and make it look however we want. Or we can use the Google Calendar, that a lot of schools are using, and make it look however you want. We go back into our editor. Of course, like everything else on the site, we can resize everything by just dragging it whatever size you want. Maybe you want your Google Calendar to be itty bitty, you can do it. Make it however big you want it. Or of course, if you just drag it into a pane, it will auto size so that it fits correctly. I'm going to drag this one up there. So you see, I just dragged it into here. So it's probably a bad place for a calendar. It's just too little. Let's just hit our undo button a couple of times and go back. not the ideal place for a calendar. Generally, your calendars are going to be wider than that. And so obviously you're going to want a wide view for your calendar just because there's a lot of stuff there. You will have the option with the Google Calendar to have it in a column or the different tabs or whatever else you want, whatever other Google options are provided by Google as well. So we've got some options there as well. Stand by, let me check my notes real quick. Let's add a map and some social icons because those are big things that people like to add as well. So we're going to add that as well. Well, let's do one from the side. Again, I'm just going to type in map over here on this one so I can quickly find what I'm looking for. And it already has a default address in there. Maybe you want to change that to whatever you want. So there's our map, how it looks by default. This is a fully functional Google map that you can click on, and we can add information about your address and all kinds of fun stuff to it. So let's click on it. We have the content option, which is your address, maybe some saved addresses that you have in there. We can have text on a button. We can add a title to it. So when people click on it, it'll say, "This is my school. Come see us at," whatever your address is, or call us at whatever you want to put for your message that you want people to see when they call you. Or I'm sorry, whenever they click on the map. So you'll see in this case, there's the pop-up. So it's kind of fun. You can do all kind of cool stuff with it. We can turn things on, turn things off. You can just play with it as much as you see fit. So it's kind of cool. The count of the map, just like everything else, of course, is sizable. Make it as big or as tall or as wide as you want just by grabbing the corners of it. And that's pretty much it. So it's a pretty simple map. Now there's also a multi-location map. If you're going to, maybe you want to put a map for your district and you've got 10 schools in the district, you're going to want to use the other map. So if we go back here to widgets, we scroll down, you'll see there are two map options. And one is for multiple locations and the other is just for one location. It may not be in this one. Goodness. Oh, maybe I'm missing it. Okay, I lied. It's not there. I'm going to go find out why, and we'll make sure it's there later. All right, so instead, forget that, scratch that, forget it. We'll just move on. We'll go add these social icons. So there's lots of things we can add from a social standpoint, social icons. Again, if I right-click here and just go to add widget below, let's go add more widgets. And there's actually a whole section just for social media. You can add your share links. You can add a Twitter feed, a Facebook like thing, Facebook comments, just a whole group of social icons, RSS feed. We can even integrate the third-party application called Disqus, Facebook feed, Instagram feed, WhatsApp, or maybe some sticky icons on the left. Let's add a whole bunch of them. Let's add our sticky icons on the left. Well, that's going to add these little blue guys over here on the left. By default, they're all Facebook, but let's change some to Twitter. We'll change this one to Instagram. How about Pinterest? Maybe we'll add another one for Instagram. There it is. Maybe we'll add another for YouTube, since I saw it in there. So now you can see we've got them all in there. Just like everything else on the site, it's draggable and you can move things around really easily. Oh, I think I changed that one before. That was my Instagram one. There we go. So now we've got all of them. And of course, you can, like I said, you can change the order as you see fit and move them around. Now you're going to want to add your specific Facebook path to each one. So in this case, our Facebook, I have to click the link to a page, website URL. Our Facebook is, I don't even know. There it is. Copy that. And only because I know that we have a Facebook account, I'm just going to leave that one there. But you would do that for each of them, just to add whatever the URL is for each of your different social media icons. If you want to add a custom icon, you can click on Add Custom Icon. And we can get a little crazy with it. We're not going to get into that now, but you can actually go and use any of the other icons out there in the universe. So just know you've got that option. So this one, we center it can center on the left. We can move it over to the right. Those are your two options there. Maybe you want to have some change the hover icon. I'm sorry, the hover style. When they mouse over, it gets larger. We can do that. Or maybe hover over and they go black or whatever. So we've got lots of different options. Here, we can change that. Click action. Of course, we always want everything from a third-party website or document to open in a new tab. So we're going to leave that alone and just leave that. So let's go add some more social media stuff because everybody wants social media. I'm going to add another row here. Add a couple of rows. And let's go add another widget. Right-click in a column and go to widget below, add more widgets. Let's go down to our social media section and we'll add Facebook, Facebook feed. Everybody digs Facebook. So there you go. There's your Facebook feed. And like everything else, it's resizable, so you can make it however big you want. Go back and this one, I think you have to click here. We can change the design width of it however long you want it to be. Facebook does have some limitations in itself, so obviously it's not going to be full 100% width, but you've got the options to turn things on or off, large header photo, maybe turn off the cover photo. Maybe you want to see events and messages. Totally up to you. Lots of options to play with there on your own. And of course, you still got some design options as well. So there's Facebook. So all kind of cool stuff. We are really making a big and ugly page. So there's that. Let's do something really fun, and it's the sections part. We're going to move to that. And the sections are the part that I like because it lets us do all this stuff we've already been doing in terms of adding things to our page, but it lets us add them in a prettier way, and it's a little bit faster. And what I mean by the prettier way is that we've pre-styled a lot of these widgets. So in the past, when you add a widget to a page, you're just adding a blank widget. And then you've got to go out there and stylize it and make it look pretty, doing all the design stuff that I showed you. Instead, we've got sections that are already done for you. To get to the sections, just put your mouse over any row, and you'll see the little blue lines around it. You'll see a blue plus in the middle of the page. Put your mouse over that blue plus, and that's on every row. You can just add a section anywhere you go. Click on Add Section. And sections are really my favorite part because it lets you make things pretty. And it's really cool because it's already done for you. On each of these sections are a collection of different widgets that are already styled for you. So if you want to do something like maybe classes are going to start in however many days, register now, or maybe we're going to do something fun, an intro piece. We have all these pre-designed things that are there, and all you have to do is simply change the text and the photo to make it your own. So it's kind of cool. You can add all sorts of fun things. So let's go with our space guy first. You like that? Let's save it. So there's our space guy. Maybe it's a little too big for this page, whatever the case is. But you'll see that this little section is really a row with a collection of widgets on it. It's got the spaceman guy. It's got some cool colored background. And it's got a couple of different widgets. It's got a button here. I'm sorry, no, that's just a shape. It's got a little timer thing here that we can change. It's got a text widget that we can change. And it's got a photo that we can change. So when you add these sections to your page, by default, this is, it's going to look however you saw it, but then you can go in and tweak it and make it your own by clicking on it and changing it as you see fit. Let's go add, I don't know, we'll just add some kids to it. Maybe we want to say it's going to start on a certain date. School is going to start September 3rd at 8 a.m. Which we're probably going to be Eastern time or whatever time you want. Where is Eastern time? Oof. Wow. A lot of options for time zones. All right, we're gonna go Central Time there, it looks like. All right, so we're doing that. So we can also change the text here and say, school starts soon. Because we've already looked at the styling, we know we can change all the style stuff of each of these items. That school starts soon, we want to change the design of that little guy. We can click on design and we can make it white. We can make it red. We can make it yellow. We know we can do all kind of cool, fun stuff with it. So we can play with all kind of styling options. It's the same stuff that we did a while ago. And now we can take that pre-designed component, that section, and make it our own by adding our own stuff to it. Let's go add another section. So we click on Add Section, which again is that blue plus in the middle of the page when you mouse between rows. And let's go see what some of the other sections are. So there's sections for features. Things like, what do you do at your school? What do you guys do? What do you offer? Maybe you want to put something with some photos. Maybe we want to do something a little artsy here. Show us what you guys do at your school. This is features. Maybe something about. So here's a cool little section, maybe about our department or about our particular school. Something with some photos there. So let's say we like this one. We can say, okay, save that. And here's a new section that I've added to my page. And I can say, just click on it and change it and say, this is Rob's custom section. How cool is that? And you basically just change all the stuff to make it your own. Change that dude in socks over to maybe our kids again. And we'll change that one to some more kids. And that one to bouncy balls. And this one to, oops. Hello. Oh, there it is. To kids at a table. How about that? So now we've changed it. We've made it our own. And all we did is we just added a section. And it's got everything we need there. So you see that the sections are really cool shortcuts to adding beautiful content to your page without you having to add a bunch of individual widgets like I was showing you earlier. So for example, if you want to add a widget with tabs, we have tabs. They're in here somewhere. There we go. Tab section. You can add a section with a bunch of things, different tabs on one page. You got it. We just add it, click save, and now go back in and make it your own by clicking on it and saying, my new tabs, and click on each tab to customize it, of course, to make it your own. And this tab's got a little microscope. I'll get it. We want that one again. We'll use a little kid on the phone there. We'll change these. I think you get the idea. We can change all kinds of stuff, and by using the pre-designed sections, I don't really have to just add a blank widget to the page. I can add something pre-designed and really make it look cool in just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to add, let's go back and look at some of the other ones. So text and images. It's a common one where people want to add text and images at the same time. So we've got widgets that let you do that. It's already pre-styled. There's your, just change out the photo, change out the text, and it's yours. And away you go. So you'll see that, again, this is just a real nice shortcut to building out your page. And instead of just adding a blank widget, which you can certainly still do, you can start by using one of these pre-templated pieces and add something that looks really, really cool already. Maybe you want to build out your cafeteria page. There you go. Hopefully your schools are serving things like garden salad and smoked beef. I'm sure you are. Let's go back and change some other things. Maybe testimonials from parents or other schools. You got to, when you're working on your website, think of it as a marketing piece that you're building. When people move into your area, there are three things that bring people into the area. There's jobs, housing, and schools. And you guys are in the top three in terms of what's going to attract new people to the area. So build out a beautiful website. Take the time to make it look awesome. And I think the best and fastest way to do that is by using some of these pre-designed sections. You'll see there's lots and lots and lots of options down there. There's even an arrow to see more. So we're just going to take a quick glimpse at some of these others. Best summer event ever. Not going to go through them all, but you can see that. So instead of adding just blank FAQs on your page, now you can add pre-designed FAQs, and it makes things so much faster. Now, you could take the time to stylize individual icons to do all of this, but it would be something that would take several hours for me to even explain to you how to do, and then you'd have to go through a lot of work to actually do that. So this is really the best way to build out really cool content on your site in just a couple of minutes. So pretty neat. So we've covered a whole lot about style and how to change things, and you know now that every single piece on the website has its own styling. See, and some of them, like this one, even have its own different templates that we can change. We're going to leave that alone so we don't break it too much. I messed it all up. I'm just going to hit my back button. There we go. And get back to where I was there. One more back. So again, so we know how that we can style columns, we can style rows, we can style buttons, we can style text, we can style photos, calendars. We can do all kinds of individualized styling to each component individually, or we can just use a pre-designed section and leave the styling to the style masters who built everything. And there are new sections coming out all the time. So this is definitely an area where you're going to want to watch for new sections as they come out. But the sections, again, it's just a really great way to build out a lot of cool content. So I think I beat style to death. We talked a little bit about the content. Now what I would highly recommend you do in your new site is to create a new blank page like my test page that I created here and just go play. This website is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a good time. And you're supposed to, you know, really don't be afraid of it. Go in and add some stuff to it. Maybe add every single widget if you want until you find what you really like. And you'll probably settle in on 3, 4, maybe 5 widgets that you like to use consistently. You'll find them in here. Whatever it is you want to use or do, you can do literally anything to build an incredible website in here. So you'll find that you're going to kind of zero in on just a few specific widgets. So go in and play with those and get comfortable with them. And then on your test page, try out some of the sections. And you'll see that, again, the pre-designed sections are kind of an extension, a way advanced extension version of adding just a blank widget to your page. So you can add a lot of really cool stuff to it. So I know I rambled on for a while about sections because it gets me excited. I like it. But I'm going to open up the mic now, and anybody who has any questions, just let me know what you guys have. Let me find out how to do that. Unmute. Bear with me. How do I unmute people? Ah, there we go. Oh, it's just 2 of us. Elaine, hello there. I see that you've joined us. Did you have any questions for us? Okay, you may not be dialed in or may not be able to hear it. But anyhow, so if you have any questions, you can hit the live chat option at the right of your page, or you can contact us anytime at campuscontact.com. And at our website, you can click on the support link to reach us there. You can ask us any questions. We can also do remote support. There's also an extensive knowledge base available for you. And of course, you can still submit trouble tickets for whatever you might have as well. If you just want to chat with us, hit the little chat bubble at the bottom here, which is also one of the widgets that you can add to your website so that you can chat with people who come to your website. So let us know if you have any questions. We're here to help all the time. And hope you enjoyed my little demo of how to manage content and styling in your new website. So again, if you have any questions, let us know. You can also see other videos that we've created, including this morning's video that was kind of a high-level training video, at the training page, campuscontact.com/training. And there you'll actually see this morning's video, as well as shortly you'll have the video that we're in right now. So you can go back and rewatch these videos, share them with anybody, and this is where you'll find all of the different trainings that we've done over the past. So I hope that helped everyone, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.